Have you ever felt this? You're asleep, resting peacefully, when suddenly a sharp, twisting pain in your calf pulls you out of bed. Your toes curl down, the muscle hardens like stone, and for a moment you wonder if something is terribly wrong. That kind of pain stays with you, not just in the body, but in your mind. And if you're over 60, you're far from alone. Millions wake up between 2 and 5 in the morning with the same frightening jolt. A patient once told me she dreaded going to sleep because the cramps would strike without mercy. She drank plenty of water, she stretched every night. She ate bananas faithfully because she believed potassium was the key. Yet nothing changed. What she didn't know was that her rising blood sugar, something she had never paid much attention to, was quietly irritating her nerves and slowing her circulation long before diabetes ever appeared on a lab test. I want you to imagine this. Picture your nerves as tiny electrical wires running through your legs. When blood sugar rises over time, those wires become irritated. The signals start firing unpredictably, almost like sparks that jump when they shouldn't. At the same time, higher glucose thickens the blood slightly and reduces flow to the smaller vessels in your calves. Muscles that don't get enough oxygen panic, and that panic becomes the cramp that wakes you at night. Most people believe leg cramps come from dehydration or low potassium, and sometimes they do. But for many adults over 60, especially those with prediabetes or diabetes, the true cause is much deeper. It's hidden in the way blood sugar affects nerves, circulation, and the delicate balance of minerals in the muscles. In this video, I'll help you understand the real connection between blood sugar and nighttime cramping. You'll learn the signs that appear long before diabetes is diagnosed, the simple steps that reduce cramps, and how to know when a cramp is more than just a cramp. Your body is not failing you. It's communicating with you, and once you understand its signals, everything becomes clearer. Before we continue, if this video is helping you already, please subscribe, like, and share Senior Health Daily. It truly gives us the motivation to keep creating life-changing content for you. How diabetes actually causes leg cramps. When we talk about diabetes, most people think about blood sugar levels, diet changes, medications, maybe vision or kidney problems. Very few think about leg cramps. Yet for so many older adults, the very first sign that something is shifting inside their body appears at night, deep in the muscles of the calves, long before a glucose test ever shows a number out of range. I remember a man named Richard, 68 years old, who came into my clinic exhausted after weeks of waking up at 3 in the morning with cramps so sharp he thought he was having a blood clot. He did everything right. He drank water. He stretched. He even took potassium supplements from the drugstore because everyone told him cramps meant he needed more potassium. His blood work came back almost perfect. Potassium was fine. Hydration markers were fine. Electrolytes looked balanced. Yet night after night, those cramps pulled him out of bed like an alarm he couldn't shut off. What he didn't know was that his blood sugar had been quietly creeping up for years. Not high enough to get anyone's attention, not high enough to be called diabetes, but high enough to irritate the smallest nerves in his legs. When glucose rises in the bloodstream, even just moderately, it begins to coat the tiny nerve fibers like a sticky film. Those nerves become more sensitive, almost jumpy, and they start firing electrical signals the way a spark snaps off a wire. That sudden burst of activity tells the muscle to contract, even when it doesn't need to. And once that contraction begins, the muscle locks up like a knot that refuses to release. There is another layer to this story. Glucose thickens the blood just slightly, not enough for the average person to notice, but enough to slow the tiny capillary flow that feeds the calves. Imagine the muscles trying to breathe, reaching for oxygen that arrives just a little too slowly. When a muscle does not receive the oxygen it needs, especially at night, when circulation naturally dips, it panics. That panic becomes the cramp that wakes you up. Richard asked me a question that I've heard from hundreds of older adults over the years. If my labs look normal, how can this be happening? And the truth is simple. Diabetes begins damaging nerves long before any lab test warns us. Leg cramps, especially those deep twisting ones that happen between 2 and 5 in the morning, can be one of the earliest ways the body whispers that something is wrong. Most seniors never connect these cramps to blood sugar because no one tells them to. They're told to drink water, they're told to stretch, they're told to eat bananas, and when that doesn't work, they blame their age. The body has a remarkable way of protecting us by speaking through symptoms before damage becomes severe. Leg cramps are not random, they are communication. And when blood sugar is involved, that communication becomes louder, sharper, and more persistent. This is why understanding the connection between glucose, nerves, and circulation is so important. The muscles in your legs are not overreacting. They are responding to a deeper imbalance happening quietly in the background. And when we address that imbalance, the cramps begin to ease. The body truly does want to heal when we give it the chance. If you've ever wondered why your cramps feel different now compared to when you were younger, or why they seem to appear out of nowhere long before anyone mentions diabetes, this is why. Your body has been trying to get your attention, and the fact that you're here, listening and learning, means you're already taking the first step toward relief. Before we continue, if this video is helping you understand your health, please subscribe, like, and share Senior Health Daily. It gives us the motivation to create more life-saving content for you. The hidden circulation factors seniors overlook. As I continued speaking with Richard, something became clear. His blood sugar was only part of the story. The other part was his circulation. And like so many older adults, he had no idea how much his daily habits were quietly influencing the way blood moved through his legs. Most seniors never think about circulation unless their doctor mentions blood pressure or cholesterol, but circulation is the silent engine behind muscle health. When the calves and feet do not receive steady, oxygen-rich blood, the nerves and muscles become more reactive, more sensitive, and more prone to sudden cramping. And the truth is, many circulation problems begin with simple behaviors that seem harmless on the surface. One of the most common is long periods of sitting. Richard told me he spent several hours a day in his recliner watching television, paying bills, or reading. He assumed that as long as he walked a little in the afternoon, he was fine. But the calf muscles act like tiny pumps that send blood back toward the heart. When those pumps stay inactive for too long, blood pools in the lower legs, and nighttime circulation becomes sluggish. This pooling creates the perfect environment for nerves to fire at the wrong moment. Another overlooked factor is how we position our legs during the day. Richard crossed his legs without thinking. He had done it his whole life. Yet the older we get, the more even small compressions of the arteries and veins can limit blood flow. Seniors assume it's just a comfortable habit, but the body experiences it differently. Each time the blood flow slows, the muscles become slightly more vulnerable. Sleep positions play a role as well. Many older adults sleep with their knees slightly bent or their feet pointed downward without realizing it. This compresses the vessels and shortens the calf muscles. When the calf is already tight from the day and circulation drops at night, one deep stretch or sudden movement can trigger a powerful cramp. Then there is the issue of cold feet. Seniors often tell me they thought cold feet were normal as they aged, but cold extremities are one of the earliest signs that circulation is weakening. When the feet cool, the muscles inside them stiffen, and when those muscles stiffen, they become more reactive to every small change in nerve signaling. This is one reason cramps often strike the moment someone stretches their legs under the sheets. Hydration also influences circulation in ways seniors rarely recognize. Many older adults believe that drinking water in the evening makes up for drinking too little during the day. But the body does not work on a simple refill system. Hydrating only at night means the blood becomes slightly thicker during daytime hours, making it harder to deliver oxygen to the muscles. By the time bedtime arrives, the legs have spent an entire day receiving less than ideal circulation, and the cramps become more likely to strike. I shared these insights with Richard, and he began to see how his habits were shaping his nights. He had believed his cramps were random, a sign of age or bad luck, but once he understood how circulation works in the background, He realized there were clear patterns. Patterns he could change. There was also a moment I will never forget. A woman named Linda told me she drank 8 glasses of water a day because everyone said hydration prevents cramps. But she drank nearly all of them after 4 in the afternoon. She felt proud of her discipline, yet her nights were filled with cramps because her hydration pattern worked against her, not for her. Her daytime circulation struggled, and her nighttime muscles paid the price. Stories like these remind me that understanding the body requires more than lab results. It requires paying attention to the small details of everyday life, the routines that seem harmless until they reveal their true impact. And now that you understand more about circulation, the next step is to explore how nerves behave when blood sugar rises and how they contribute to the intense cramps so many older adults experience. Neuropathy, the silent culprit behind nighttime cramps. As I continued speaking with Linda, I noticed something familiar in her story. It wasn't just her circulation causing trouble. It was the way her nerves were behaving at night. Many seniors do not realize that when blood sugar begins to rise, even slightly, the nerves in the feet and legs become more sensitive. They react to the smallest signals, and this heightened sensitivity often becomes the spark that ignites a cramp. Neuropathy sounds like a heavy medical term, but its early signs are often subtle. A little tingling in the toes, a warm or burning sensation that shows up at night, a strange electric feeling down the shin. Most people shrug these off as part of aging, but they are actually the earliest signs that elevated glucose is irritating the nerves. When those nerves misread signals from the muscles contract suddenly and powerfully. That is how many leg cramps begin long before diabetes is formally diagnosed. I remember a man named Harold who would wake up with what he described as lightning bolts shooting through his calves. He believed it was dehydration, so he drank water constantly and ate bananas every day. Still, the cramps persisted. When we explored his symptoms more closely, he admitted that his feet often felt numb during the day and then fiery at night. Those were classic neuropathy signals. His nerves were sending mixed messages, firing when they shouldn't, confusing the muscles into tightening violently. The interesting thing about neuropathy is that it behaves differently at night. During the day, when we walk and move, the nerves stay warm and busy. At night, the temperature drops slightly. The body becomes still, and the nerves become more reactive. You might think stillness is restful, but for damaged nerves, stillness allows the irritation to rise to the surface. Muscles that were calm during the day suddenly respond to small misfires from the nerves, and what should be a gentle twitch becomes a crippling cramp. Stress can amplify this effect as well. When the body is under pressure, even the everyday kind, it releases hormones that drain magnesium stores. Magnesium is one of the minerals that helps stabilize nerve signals. When levels drop, the nerves wake up, become jumpy, and fire too easily. Many seniors who are under emotional strain notice their cramps intensify during those periods, and they rarely connect the dots. Poor sleep plays a similar role. The nervous system depends on deep rest to repair itself. When someone tosses and turns or sleeps lightly, the nerves remain tense. That tension carries into the night, making the body much more prone to sudden spasms. For people over 60, the natural changes in sleep patterns make this even more common. All of these factors blend together in a way that is easy to overlook. Slightly rising blood sugar, low magnesium from stress or medications, poor sleep, a day spent sitting, cooler legs at night. Each alone might not cause a cramp, but together they create an environment where nerves and muscles struggle to stay calm. When Harold understood this, he told me it felt like finally seeing the full picture instead of just the symptoms. His cramps weren't random. They weren't a punishment for aging. They were signals from nerves asking for help. And once you recognize these signals, the path forward becomes clearer. Why leg cramps get worse after 60 when blood sugar is involved. As we get older, the body changes in ways that most people never fully notice until symptoms appear. Leg cramps are one of those symptoms that quietly grow more intense after 60, and when blood sugar begins to rise, Even slightly, those changes accelerate. It is not a sign that the body is failing. It is a sign that the muscles, nerves, and circulation are working harder than before. The first change happens in the muscles themselves. Muscles lose flexibility with age, and the tissues become less elastic. That flexibility is what allows a muscle to stretch and relax smoothly. When it decreases, the muscle becomes more sensitive to irritation. A simple shift in bed can trigger a sudden tightening. Add elevated blood sugar, which makes it harder for the nerves to communicate clearly, and the muscle contracts more forcefully than it needs to. Then there is the way the blood vessels change. Arteries stiffen with time. Veins lose some of their natural pump-like function. In younger years, blood moves easily up and down the legs, delivering oxygen and carrying away waste. After 60, the flow becomes more dependent on movement, temperature, and hydration. When blood sugar is elevated, even mildly, these vessels become more sluggish, narrowing in places and limiting the smooth circulation that muscles rely on. At night, when circulation naturally slows, these effects are magnified. I once spoke with a woman named Clara who had always been active. She walked every morning and ate well, yet her cramps became so strong after age 65 that she would sometimes cry from the intensity. She thought she was doing everything right. When we looked deeper, we discovered her blood sugar had been creeping upward for years. It was never high enough to be diagnosed as diabetes, but it was enough to irritate her nerves and stiffen her blood vessels. The combination made her cramps twice as painful as they had been a decade earlier. Another change that surprises many seniors is the gradual decline in magnesium absorption. The digestive system becomes less efficient over time, and many medications interfere with how well the body absorbs minerals. Magnesium plays a crucial role in helping muscles relax and calming nerve activity. Without it, the nerves fire more easily, and the muscles grip more tightly. When elevated blood sugar is added to that picture, magnesium levels fall even faster. Sleep also becomes a major factor. After 60, many people sleep more lightly and wake up throughout the night. Light sleep disrupts the natural repair cycle of the nerves and prevents the body from restoring mineral balance effectively. Muscles wake up tense, nerves stay hypersensitive, and the legs become more prone to sudden cramping at those early morning hours. When you put all of this together, the picture becomes clear. It is not simply aging. It is not simply dehydration. It is not simply blood sugar. It is the combination of these age-related changes, working together, quietly strengthening the conditions that make cramps more intense. The encouraging part is that once people understand this, they gain a sense of power again. They can take steps that directly improve circulation, protect nerve health, restore minerals, and ease the strain on their muscles. Clara told me that learning this felt like lifting a weight off her shoulders. She finally understood that her body wasn't betraying her. It was asking for support. And when we help the body in the right ways, it responds beautifully. Misconceptions that keep seniors misdiagnosed. One of the biggest challenges I see in my clinic is the number of seniors who have been misled by well-meaning advice or long-held beliefs. Leg cramps are often misunderstood, and those misunderstandings can delay the real solution. Many of my patients walk through the door convinced they already know why their cramps happen, but their explanations rarely match what their body is actually telling them. The most common misconception is the idea that leg cramps always mean a lack of potassium. For decades, people have heard that eating bananas will fix cramping. Bananas certainly help in some cases, but only a small percentage of seniors have cramps caused by low potassium alone. When I review blood results with patients, the majority have normal potassium levels, sometimes even on the higher side. Yet they continue to experience intense cramping. They eat bananas faithfully, sometimes every single day, and they cannot understand why the pain continues. The truth is that relying on potassium alone distracts from the real cause, especially when blood sugar begins to affect nerves and circulation. Another misconception is the belief that dehydration is always to blame. Seniors often assume they did not drink enough water. I met a man who kept a bottle of water beside him all day, sipping constantly in hopes of preventing nighttime cramps. Still, the symptoms persisted. What he didn't realize was that timing matters more than volume. Drinking most of his water in the evening diluted his electrolytes right before bedtime and made cramping worse. His issue wasn't dehydration. It was the way diabetes had begun to affect his circulation and nerve function. Many people also blame their sleep position and assume they simply slept wrong. While posture can contribute, it rarely explains persistent painful cramps, especially those that strike between 2 and 5 in the morning. Seniors sometimes accept this explanation because it feels simple and harmless, but accepting it can delay a proper evaluation of blood sugar, nerve health, and circulation. Doctors also unintentionally contribute to these misunderstandings. Medical visits are often rushed. When a senior mentions leg cramps, they may only receive basic advice: drink more water, eat bananas, stretch your calves. These are good starting points, but they overlook the deeper patterns that point toward early diabetic changes. A standard electrolyte test does not pick up nerve irritation or subtle circulation decline. A person can have perfect numbers on paper and still experience severe cramps because their nerves and vessels are struggling behind the scenes. One of my patients, Linda, told me she felt embarrassed bringing up her nightly cramps because previous doctors brushed them off. When we finally connected the symptoms to her rising blood sugar, she felt relieved to finally have an explanation that made sense. She said it was the first time someone looked beyond the surface and considered what her body was trying to communicate. Misconceptions are powerful because they feel familiar and safe. But they also hide the truth. When seniors understand what is really happening inside their muscles, nerves, and blood vessels, everything changes. Instead of guessing, they finally have a clear path forward. Medications that quietly increase cramp risk. One of the most overlooked pieces of the leg cramp puzzle is medication. Many seniors are surprised to learn that the very pills helping their heart, blood pressure, or diabetes can quietly influence how their nerves fire and how their muscles respond. This doesn't mean the medications are bad. It simply means the body changes over time, and the way it processes these medications changes too. I remember a patient named George, 72 years old, who came to me frustrated after months of painful nighttime cramping. He had tried drinking more water, adding magnesium, stretching before bed, and even using warm compresses. Nothing worked. When we sat together and reviewed his medical history slowly and carefully, something important emerged. His cramps began around the same time his doctor increased his diuretic for blood pressure control. Diuretics are incredibly helpful medications, but they also increase the loss of magnesium and potassium through urine. For someone whose electrolytes were previously just barely balanced, this small shift was enough to create nightly muscle spasms. Another group of medications that often surprises seniors is statins, commonly used for cholesterol. Statins can irritate muscle fibers in a way that makes them more vulnerable to fatigue. When this irritation is paired with diabetes, the effect becomes stronger. The combination of glucose-related nerve sensitivity and statin-related muscle strain can create cramps that feel sharper, deeper, and more unpredictable. I always reassure patients that they should never stop their medications without guidance. Instead, we adjust dosages, change timing, or explore alternatives. Often, just a small switch can bring remarkable relief. Blood pressure medications can also change circulation subtly. Beta blockers slow the heart rate, which is helpful for many conditions, but they can reduce the amount of oxygen-rich blood reaching the legs during the night. When circulation slows and nerves become more excitable, a cramp can occur with almost no warning. Many seniors tell me they feel confused by this connection because the medication itself doesn't hurt. But the body's nighttime environment changes, and the muscles react to that shift. Some diabetes medications gently alter electrolyte levels, even when blood sugar is well controlled. This is why seniors often feel cramps during times when their medications are being adjusted. The body senses every small change. When nerves are already irritated from elevated glucose, even a slight shift can push the muscles into a spasm. One of the most memorable cases I've seen involved a woman named Ruth, who suffered from excruciating calf cramps for almost a year. She blamed age, dehydration, and stress. But when we reviewed her medications together, we discovered that a new prescription she started for heart rhythm control subtly tightened her circulation patterns. After coordinating with her cardiologist and adjusting the dose, her cramps improved by 70% in just 2 weeks. She cried tears of relief because she finally understood that her body wasn't failing. It was reacting. Medication interactions are rarely discussed because the effects are gradual and they blend into everyday symptoms. But when seniors learn how these medications influence their nerves, muscles, and circulation, they finally gain control. The key is awareness, gentle monitoring, and never being afraid to ask questions or seek clarity. When seniors understand how medications shape their nighttime experiences, they begin to notice patterns they overlooked before. That awareness becomes the first step toward relief, confidence, and healthier nights. Lifestyle patterns that intensify cramping and diabetes. As I sit across from older adults every day, one of the most common realizations we uncover together is that leg cramps do not appear from just one cause. They build slowly from countless small habits, forming quiet pressure on the muscles, nerves, and circulation. These habits are rarely intentional. They simply become part of life after 60, and the body responds in ways that often feel sudden or confusing. One pattern I see repeatedly is long hours of sitting. Many seniors spend more time resting, watching television, reading, or simply recovering from the day. Sitting is not harmful by itself, but when the legs stay still for too long, the calf muscles stop performing their gentle pumping action. This pumping is essential for returning blood back toward the heart. Without it, blood collects in the lower legs, circulation slows, and cramps become more frequent, especially at night. I often tell my patients that even standing for a few minutes or doing light ankle circles every hour can make a meaningful difference. Evening meals also play a larger role than most expect. High carbohydrate or sugary dinners can spike blood sugar overnight. These spikes irritate the nerves, especially in people with diabetes or prediabetes. When nerves are irritated, they become jumpy and reactive. Muscles listen to those signals, and a simple stretch in bed can suddenly trigger a painful spasm. A patient named Linda told me she had no idea her nighttime dessert habit was worsening her cramps until she made a small shift to lighter, balanced meals in the evening. Her cramps reduced within days. Hydration patterns also matter. Many seniors drink very little water during the day and then try to catch up in the evening. Drinking water at night might seem helpful, but it creates a dilution effect that can confuse the body's mineral balance. Muscles need steady hydration, not sudden waves. When hydration is uneven, minerals like magnesium and sodium become slightly imbalanced overnight, setting the stage for cramping between 2 and 5 in the morning. I often encourage seniors to hydrate earlier in the day and keep nighttime intake gentle and consistent. Another habit many people overlook is poor sleep. When sleep is disrupted, stress hormones rise, and the nervous system becomes overstimulated. An overstimulated nervous system is far more likely to trigger cramps, especially when combined with diabetes-related nerve sensitivity. A lack of quality sleep also slows muscle repair, meaning the calves and feet enter the night already tense. Finally, stretching is one of the most underestimated habits. When older adults stop stretching regularly, muscles begin to shorten. Tight calves create the perfect environment for sudden cramping. Even a simple morning or evening routine where seniors gently lengthen their calves, hamstrings, and feet can dramatically soften the frequency of cramps. When seniors understand how everyday habits influence nighttime pain, they become empowered in a way that feels almost liberating. These lifestyle patterns are not causes to fear. They are opportunities for change. Each small shift brings the body a little closer to balance, comfort, and calm nights. Early warning signs: your cramps are blood sugar related. When I talk with older adults about their leg cramps, one of the first things I listen for is the pattern. Patterns tell the truth long before lab tests do. The body whispers through small changes, and when those whispers are ignored, they eventually become louder signals. For many seniors, those signals are deeply connected to blood sugar and diabetes long before a diagnosis appears on paper. One of the earliest signs is when cramps consistently occur in only one leg. Most simple, harmless cramps affect both legs equally over time. But when one leg repeatedly tightens or spasms while the other stays quiet, it often means circulation or nerve function is uneven. I once worked with a gentleman who felt cramps only in his right calf every night. Months later, we discovered nerve irritation linked to early blood sugar changes on that side. Another sign is the presence of cold feet. When blood sugar begins to damage small vessels, circulation in the lower legs becomes sluggish. The feet cool noticeably, even under blankets. Many seniors brush this off as aging, but it is often one of the earliest indicators that the legs are not receiving steady blood flow. Many people also describe a mix of sensations, such as tingling, burning, or tiny electric sparks in the feet. These feelings usually come before full cramps develop. When these sensations appear alongside nighttime cramping, it is a strong signal that the nerves themselves are irritated, a hallmark of diabetic neuropathy starting to take shape. Slow healing is another early clue. Minor cuts, scratches, or dry patches on the legs and feet take longer to recover when circulation is compromised. The skin may begin to look shiny or unusually smooth. Hair on the lower legs may thin out. These changes come from a gradual decline in microcirculation, not from age alone. Some seniors notice that walking triggers a cramp, yet the moment they rest, the pain fades. This stop-and-go pattern is a classic sign that the muscles are not receiving enough blood flow during activity, a phenomenon closely linked to diabetes-related vascular narrowing. When you learn to recognize these early warning signs, something powerful happens. Instead of fearing the cramps, you begin to understand them. Your body is not malfunctioning. It is instructing you. It is showing you areas that need care, earlier than any lab test, earlier than any diagnosis. And with that awareness, you can act sooner, protect your nerve health, and reduce your discomfort long before the symptoms grow stronger. What seniors can do today to reduce diabetes-related cramps. When seniors finally understand the deeper link between blood sugar, circulation, and nerve health, I often see something shift inside them. Instead of feeling powerless, they begin to feel capable again. And the truth is, you have far more influence over these nightly cramps than you may realize. Small, thoughtful actions done consistently can create powerful changes. One of the simplest steps is adding a gentle calf stretch before bed. You don't need a long routine, just enough movement to lengthen the muscles and wake up the nerves in a calm, controlled way. I've had patients who could cut their nighttime cramps in half within a week by doing nothing more than a slow calf stretch and a light hamstring release in the evening. Light walking after meals is another surprisingly effective tool. Even 10 minutes after dinner helps your body use glucose more efficiently. This keeps blood sugar steadier through the night, reducing nerve irritation and lowering the chance of those sudden 3 a.m. cramps. I've seen seniors transform both their sleep and their glucose readings with this one habit alone. Magnesium-rich foods in the evening also calm the nervous system. A handful of almonds, a little spinach, or even a warm cup of cocoa made with natural cacao can help relax the muscles and reduce nighttime misfiring. Food-based magnesium tends to work gently, which is ideal for older adults. Hydration plays a big role too, but timing matters as much as quantity. Your muscles need steady hydration throughout the day, not a large amount right before bed. Most seniors drink too little in the morning and afternoon, then try to make up for it at night. This pattern dilutes electrolytes and actually increases the risk of cramping. Spacing your water intake earlier helps your muscles stay balanced and more resilient. Keeping your feet warm is another protective habit. Warmth improves blood flow, and when circulation improves, muscles stay calmer. A pair of warm socks or a gentle heating pad before sleep can make a bigger difference than many expect. Paying attention to your blood sugar trends is equally important. Even mild elevations, especially at night, can aggravate nerves and trigger cramps. You don't need perfect numbers to feel better. You just need awareness and small steps in the right direction. And finally, know when it is time to reach out for help. If your cramps worsen, if they appear during walking, if the foot changes color or the skin takes too long to heal, or if tingling becomes constant, it is time for professional evaluation. Early attention prevents long-term complications and keeps your legs strong for the years ahead. With these small, steady habits, your legs can relax again. Your nights can become more peaceful. Your body will respond beautifully because it always wants to heal. You are not alone in this. You are learning, caring, and taking steps forward, and every one of those steps matters. As we come to the end of our time together, I want you to take a slow breath and remember something important. Leg cramps are not a sign that your body is giving up. They are not a punishment or a weakness. They are simply your body's way of tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Please pay attention to me. I need a little care." When you begin to see them that way, something inside you shifts. Fear turns into understanding. Frustration turns into clarity. Your legs have carried you through decades of life. They have walked you through work days, family gatherings, challenges, celebrations, and quiet mornings. They have held you steady in moments of joy and moments of loss. They have never stopped showing up for you, and they deserve the same compassion and patience you so freely give to others. The hopeful truth is that your body is still capable of healing. Even at 60, 70, or 80, muscles can grow stronger. Nerves can calm. Circulation can improve. Small, consistent choices can change the way your nights feel and the way your days begin. When you hydrate with intention, move gently, stretch with awareness, and nourish your body with the minerals it needs, you create space for relief, strength, and renewal. You are not powerless in this. Every step you take, no matter how small, moves you toward comfort and confidence. And you never have to walk this path alone. Senior Health Daily is here with you, guiding you, supporting you, helping you understand what your body is trying to say. So as we finish today's journey, hold this close to your heart. Your body still listens, it still responds, and it still wants to carry you forward. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of your legs, honor your body, and stay connected with Senior Health Daily for guidance, hope, and encouragement every step of the way.